Okay, Randy is now going to give us a quick demonstration of one of the Fitrix ERP software modules, Product Configurator. Take it away, Randy.
Thanks, James. Okay, we're going to pretend that I'm an order taker here. I'm placing a sales order to my contact Steve Smith at the Olympic Auto Warehouse. He's given me a call and said that he'd like to place an order for one of our prototype robots. So I started the order for Steve, and you can see that I've got all of the shipping information for the order in general. And in the lower part of the screen, I'm defining the line items for what I'm going to be either shipping from stock or producing for Steve at Olympic Auto Warehouse. So in this case, I'm working with my B9 robot, and we can see, as I mentioned in my presentation, we have a line type here called MTO, and this says that I'm not going to ship this item from stock. I'm going to make it and feed it directly back to the sales order and then ship it to Olympic. So once I enter the quantity for the item, the default price for that item shows up automatically, and then it immediately prompts me that this is a configured item, and it asks me if I want to go into the configuration now. So I'm talking to Steve on the phone, and I want to go ahead and configure this robot as we're talking. So I'm going to click yes. The next window that pops up is a selection choice that lets me identify a new set of configuration options for this robot, or if I wanted to, if maybe this was another customer that had already ordered a robot with a specific set of options, and they just wanted to call back and order another one with the same exact properties, I could have saved that first configuration under what's called a catalog number and then just retrieve that and bring that into the new order. But I'm going to say now that Steve's the first-time buyer for the robot, so I'm going to click that I want to use a new configuration. And I'll give just a second. I think the screens are coming up a little bit slow for everybody. So I'm going to give just a second for the configuration screen to show up. And again, at the top of the screen, you can now see the confirmation that this is a configuration for a sales order that I've started. It's sales order number 9, line number 1. It is definitely for the B9 robot. I'm going to be producing this and shipping it from Miami production facility. I'm not using a catalog. If I wanted to save this configuration under a catalog, I could type in a new catalog identifier here. And I can see that if I didn't change anything to do with the configuration of this robot and just accepted it as is, it would have a net price of $22,400, cost of $12,003, so I have a margin of $10,100 or 45%. So as I'm talking to Steve and I'm telling him that the default head bubble is clear, I look at the list of choices, and Steve can see that if he wants, he could order a neon head bubble. So I'm going to select the neon bubble, and when I do that, I want you to watch what happens to the list of questions on the screen. I'm going to select OK for that, and you'll see that a new question popped up that said, gee, now that I know you have neon, do you want green or do you want purple? So I'm going to, again, just verify my list of choices, and when I see the two different bubble types show up, I have a picture next to each one that shows me what that purple neon bubble is going to look like. Steve decides he likes that, so I'm going to select the purple bubble. The next item in the list is a choice for a camera, and I can either select a camera or not. And the default here is to show a camera, and you'll notice that in addition to having the camera, I have a choice about the number, the type of lens. It could be 100 millimeter, 200 millimeter, or 500. In each one of those lenses, I see a picture that shows me what that lens looks like. If I select the choice to skip the camera, again, watch the list of questions, and when I select no, you see that the corresponding question about the lens type now goes away. Since I don't want a camera, it doesn't make any sense to ask for what kind of lens, so I take that off the list of choices. So I'm going to go back and select yes for the camera, because I do want that, and I do want to use the default 100 millimeter lens. And I'll go down here and also select that I'd like, when they do the installation of the voice software, I want to use the female voice. And then the last thing I'll do is look at under the soil sampler. For Steve's use in the Olympic Auto Warehouse, they obviously don't need a soil sampler, so I'm going to unselect or turn off that option. Now you'll notice, again, I want you to see what happens when we say that we don't want the soil sampler. Right now we have a price of $23,000. If I say no to the soil sampler, we can see that it just knocked $1,000 off the price of the robot, because that was a $1,000 option on the soil sampler. So this kind of gives you a flavor for how those questions can be turned on or off, and also how the selection of options will affect both the cost and price. There's one additional level of detail that the CSR may or may not choose to access while they're configuring an item. If I click on the options button here, this will show me at a more detailed level the material and labor that's going to go into the production side of the build of this robot. So for the base robot, it always has a head, leg pack, and a torso, and then there are always going to be labor steps that will assemble the head, assemble the torso, do the final assembly, and install the voice software and the operating system for the robot. The second section within the options window here show me individual materials that are going to come into play for those additional options that I selected. So we see the options, and we see the breakdown of how that cost and price is affected by the individual items. So I'm going to save this configuration, and then I'll go ahead and save the order. And just real quickly, I want to show you how this affects the production side. So we've saved a sales order. Now I want to go back and look at the production order that was automatically created to build this robot. So I'm going to go back into the order and click on a Make to Order button. Give that a couple of seconds to come up. And here we'll see the robot production order that's going to build the one unit of that prototype robot. And I see an association to the base sales order, so I know that when this robot is manufactured, I'm not going to put it in stock and hold it for shipment. It's going directly to a customer order. I can also look at components, and here I see the full breakdown of, as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, a multi-level bill. This is a multi-level bill that exploded through phantoms to get to individual components and are being shown for production. And you can see that a number of these components have a negative availability, and the system will be prompting me for creation of purchase orders to satisfy those shortages. So I can create purchase orders that will satisfy the shortage, be directly fed into the production process, and then get transferred over to production, and then the item is built and made available for sale. So that's kind of a quick overview of our product configurator.